you doing, my man?
Good, man.
Yeah.
We're back.
We are back. Had to take a week off there. Not that anybody out there would know that.
No.
But we did. We took a week off. I had to make a quick trip down south. We'll get into that later. Go see a friend, make sure he was doing okay. But yeah, we're back. We're back and mostly unscathed.
Yeah.
Except Jeff's truck.
Yeah. Still minor in the things of what the world could have given me, I guess, at the point in time. So
yeah, totally, man. So like about 2 weeks ago, I had a therapy session, and up to this point, I hadn't really felt like therapy with this new therapist. It was still sort of I don't know. He talked a lot, which meant I wasn't talking. You know, there's some times where I just didn't think he really understood what I was saying. Versus my last therapist, who retired, but she was just out of this world, right? We had that relationship that you're supposed to have.
yeah.
So anyway, me and this cat are going back and forth, and he's I said this statement, and I've said this in jest, I guess, many times. But I said this. I said, well, you know, it only takes one aw shit to fuck up a lifetime of attaboys. And he said, that's interesting. And as soon as he said that's interesting, it made me go introspective real quickly. Like, why would he say that? And then I didn't take long before the lights came on, and I figured out I was home. And I said, oh, no, they don't fuck up a lifetime of attaboys. You just get to go again and go again and go again. You're not fucking up everything you've done. And so like it unraveled this whole thing for me.
Yeah.
And where I got that statement was from my first boss in the military. And I remember he told me that one time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had a relationship with him. Now I look back at him as he was a father figure for me. And I didn't realize that until just last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago. But when he told me that, I took it to heart.
Yeah.
And what it did was it made me live a life. It didn't make me. I chose to live a life of being so scared of fucking up or so scared of not being perfect that it was causing me stress. It was causing me, you know, to be tormented by this weight of my own expectations.
You think some of that comes from the military background, since you guys have to be so regimented in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I'm sure it plays right up there with it.
I would assume.
Totally. So you take that, it's already baked into your job and into your way of life, right? Your mantra.
Yeah, because you somewhat are an OCD person. You like perfection, but you want quality when you're doing a work project or something.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I will
say
obsess.
that you're not like a Sheldon from Big Bang where you're so anal retentive to everything. But no, you're not that way. But I think the military would have something a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And having, you know, a father figure type of person to be instilling those kinds of values or whatever you want to call it, you know, in my 19-year-old self. And it all makes sense now. It makes so much sense that I've held myself to a level that is not sustainable. It's achievable, but not sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think when I went to the hospital a few years ago, I think that I was at that tipping point of, okay, this is the end of your sustainability. You're done. You can't keep doing this shit, right? Like, you cannot make everything perfect. You can't, you know, I know I go at great lengths whenever I prepare things, whether it's the studio or my old storefront or whatever. You can't keep doing that. At some point, you have to just be okay with doing it and being okay with whatever the outcome is.
And you can't walk life on a tightrope thinking that, I got to always be on this, because it's not possible.
Yeah.
The reality is you will have off days, you will fuck up, but it's the lessons from those things, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's always that. And it's those things too, like, again, you know, I read a quote, like, your past and your mistakes should not be something to hold you back, so don't dwell on them, you know?
Right.
Those are life lessons that hopefully don't become repeatable, depending on what it is, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's, I mean, that's a sad thing to think, that someone would live their life thinking that anytime they fucked up, all the good they'd done in the past was now negated.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I've been living my life. And I got it in a therapy session with somebody who I didn't even think was my therapist. I'll be damned when you do something differently, man.
Teaching you when you didn't think it was going to be coming.
Yeah, man. Those are the greatest moments ever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they really are.
Well, that's what they say, too, of like your awakening or your awe moment of like Nirvana and Buddhists and Taoism is when you get the mind to completely stop thinking and be completely empty or realize those questions. You're like, oh, shit. And that's your moment of, you know, kind of enlightenment and going to that next level, so to speak.
You ever do that to yourself? Like say something out loud? Like literally you say the words out loud and then you go, wait, was I just talking about me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're trying to help someone or you're even criticizing sometimes.
Yeah.
But as soon as it comes out of your mouth and you hear it and it's in the universe, you go, fuck, that's me I'm talking
about. One of those, I guarantee every person has almost said this, is I hate my life. You know, or God, I hate my life. Some form of nature. And I wrote this in my journal like years ago, that if I ever say that to myself from present day forward, when I wrote that, immediately, no, I don't. I'm sorry. To apologize to yourself, because in that moment, as we've talked before, it wasn't a bad circumstance. I maybe just had a bad version of me for 10, 20 hour, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, nothing that you're going, most of the time that we're going to encounter is so bad that it is just like off the wall that like, God, my life is just horrible and you're just going to rant and rave.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever catch yourself saying phrases like that, catch yourself immediately, get in a habit and go, no, I didn't mean it. I apologize. I got a great life. Just a bad moment right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's little things like going back to, you know, my truck getting hit last week, very minor damage to what could have. We were coming head on, more so person, not all there in the mind of, you know, inebriated off something.
Yeah.
We could have been head on. I probably would have been monster truck, potentially probably on top of them. Who knows what would have really happened, but minor damage to what could have been. And I just kind of shrugged it off like I really did. Called the authorities to get after them as they're swerving around, taking off. Like, my concern wasn't me. It was very calm. And it wasn't until later, like even the past couple of days when I found out the extent of the damage now, it's just like,
Yeah.
It's just got me a little worked up of like, okay, getting things taken care of with insurance, anything else I need to do, you know, making sure that's squared away. Like, got me a little bit. And like even the lady yesterday, she goes, I know this is frustrating, but thank you for being so calm the entire time. And I'm like, well, none of this is your fault. And there's some things they're still trying to figure out on their end. And I'm like, just, get back to me when you guys do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It doesn't matter. You know, my truck's got to get fixed regardless. And I can't drive it right now. I could, but
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So it's like, no big deal, you know?
Yeah.
And I can think back in times when I got off the phone, I was like, how many other times would I have like snapped? And it really didn't call for it because it would have been so minor of a detail. Like, these people are trying to help me. Then why am I going to go AWOL on them for no reason, you know?
Right.
So I always kind of go back to when you say negative things to yourself, pull it back. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Even if it's small things of like, oh, I'm fat. Shut up. Don't say that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not doing any good.
Those little things just eat at you. And if you tell it yourself enough, those types of phrases, you begin it to believe it in your subconscious, your mind take over, and then that's where you go. And that's all you see in yourself. Then you got to do undo the damage that you've done for years and years and years, which you probably had that moment.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of like self-aware of like, all those times I did mess up, those weren't fuck ups of life. That was like, oh, that taught me this.
Yeah. That was just one part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a teachable moment. So don't dwell on that kind of stuff because it will poison your brain, and then you got to retrain your mind, which is 10 times harder than training the body.
That's right. That's right, man.
I'd say it's easier to train for a marathon than to train your mind because guess what? You can't wrap your mind around it. You ain't going nowhere.
That's right. Yeah, man. The mind is it's a terrible thing to waste. You know, you might as well put it to good use.
Well, it's true.
So guess what else I did last week?
Well,
You ain't gonna guess, but maybe I told you. Yeah, I told you. Went with our friend Nate Ferguson.
Yeah.
And did a session of pranic healing with him. Oh, wow. Man, he cleaned my clock, man. He freaked me out. He really freaked me out, the shit he did. Some of the things that he was saying were as if he was reading the book of me. You know, he knew a couple ages that some trauma was brought on, and he had no way of knowing. You know, and he just somehow he gathered that, and in the actual pranic healing work itself, I had a couple of my chakras that were pretty blocked up, and one of them was my throat, and one was my heart. And as he's working on me, my eyes are closed, and I'm meditating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was about a 30-minute meditation session. So as he's working on me, I don't know where he's at. All I know is at some point it felt like somebody was pulling a tennis ball out of my throat. Like legitimately, like if you were to watch a snake eat a mouse,
Yeah,
like that's what it felt like, you know, that
backwards.
look. Yeah, going backwards. And it wasn't uncomfortable. I was just very aware of the feeling. And so anyway, you know, a short time later, I'm sitting there crying. I don't even know why. Well, come to find out, it's when he was working on both of the chakras, and he said that my throat chakra was pretty banged up and took quite a bit of effort and quite a few attempts to get that crap out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all this, and you know, if you don't have an open mind, you're not going to understand.
Oh yeah,
That's okay. You know, one day you will. But to say that I felt empty would be putting it lightly. Like I felt like I had opened up a new room in my house that I never knew was there.
mm-hmm.
It felt like I was just like a box waiting to be filled up. You know, that's about the best way I can put it. And I had been having really horrible anxiety attacks up to that point. So much so that I was worried that I would have one sitting there doing the pranic healing. I hadn't been going to my 30-minute meditation group just because I was so worried about not being able to make it through a session, you know, and haven't had a single bout of anxiety since I went to that session with Nate.
Yeah, I think you were putting that pressure on you that I think a lot of people do. Like, no different going to the doctor. You know, you may have no qualms against needles. I don't. I know you don't. I assume not.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you sit there going, okay. It's no different than it's just this true placebo effect. You're so putting yourself in a manic state of worrying that, oh, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, that you induce what is coming versus with Nate and what he talked about when we had him on, like doing the pranic healing and chakras and energy and stuff. If you sit there the entire time, this ain't going to work, this ain't going to work, this ain't going to work. Yes, because you're putting up a negative energy of a wall that Nate's got to break down to even get through, to even be able to read you.
Right.
I think it just stems from those when we have certain situations, we put this preconceived notion in our mind and it messes with us versus thinking, like.
Yeah, totally.
Even my daughter's gymnastics coach will tell them, like, before you do something or, you're waiting to go, envision in your head doing your routine and this and that. And like, that's things I would do, like before track meets, before fights, is sit there and is like, all right, how's it playing out in your head? You have no idea what's going to go, but if you play that chess game in your head and it starts to unfold when it really does, you've created this scenario, you've seen it, and this is what you train for. You do no different than military training. Hopefully what they've trained you to do will prepare you for what might come, may not, but it runs through your head in that sort of chess match that you just, okay, go here.
Well, nothing prepared me or could have prepared me for the realization of that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what that was, but I feel different.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take a pill. I didn't smoke anything. I just felt different. Hadn't used any cannabis. I just felt different. It felt like literally like a weight had been pulled off of me. And that feeling has not ceased.
It's good.
It's still now I have like my moments in the day where whatever happens, but my personal physical feeling is weighing on me much less now for whatever reason. And so right away I scheduled another session.
Good.
And so then he can work on specific points for longer, just spread them out, come back, a few weeks and do a different one. So looking forward to that. And so having done that, I was right away able to go and get back into my group of meditating on a weekly basis for the 30-minute sessions, which is, for me, is a very therapeutic session. It's not easy. It's therapy. It's hard, but it's rewarding. And I was really missing that. So now, for whatever reason, the anxiety has subsided. Feel a lot better. And, I've got Nate to thank for that, at least, largely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, I would highly recommend it. It's well worth a couple hours the first time.
Oh, I definitely plan on going because he got me so, because that's stuff that I've done some of that before with martial arts, and some of that, is nothing that we dabble in, but no.
Yeah. Well, and for those of you that don't know, pranic healing is what Nate practices. It's like a touchless form of Reiki, which is another energy work. So it's just getting negative energy out of the body and getting you more balanced or realigned, if you will. So anyway, Nate, if you're listening, thank you, man. It was wonderful. Appreciate it. It was definitely a mind-bending experience for me. And so anyway, so those two events really set a tone for me for the past couple weeks, if you will. And I'm thinking about a friend of mine, and it's an old Air Force buddy of mine, and he lives down in Florida. And thinking about him because I know last time I talked to him, he said he was doing all right. You know what that means? Not good. Yeah, all right is fucking life sucks or whatever you're thinking. And so I give it a couple of days, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I think it's my place to call and see how he is. So get a hold of him, say, hey, man, I don't want to text. Do you have time for a phone call? Because to me, that's still so much more personal, just to hear the person's voice. If you can't be in front of them, the texting thing, you can't convey tone, inflection. You can't convey empathy, So anyway, get him on the phone and we're talking. I said, hey, and my wife is sitting right next to me. I haven't cleared any of this. I just looked at my phone and looked at my schedule, and anything that was on it could be moved, including recording the podcast. Yeah. And I said, hey, what's your week like next week? And I said, by that, I mean, are you able to have someone down? Like if I was to drive down? And he was like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm like, no, I'm serious, dude.
It was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm serious. Like, what do you think we can pull off here? And Lindsay's looking at me and she just gives me the thumbs up, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
She didn't question me at all about it. And so anyway, we get our shit square, and, lo and behold, come Monday morning, I'm going to be driving out of Florida. Had I been having the anxiety attacks, of course, I would have thought, well, I don't think I want to drive all the way down there.
That's a long drive to have lots of doubt run through your head.
It's a long drive to have nothing going on, right? Like you're not talking to anybody. Nobody's talking to you. But then I started thinking about it, going, wait, that sounds like something that might be really good for me right now.
Oh, you can have lots of silence, music, podcast you
books.
Can knock out.
Yeah, totally. So I took full advantage. I had some silent time, and I had some books. I had some podcasts, had some music. Caught myself one time sort of dancing to a song.
Good.
It was fucking weird, man. Like, it was the weirdest moment that I can remember, like, in my adult life. I had stopped, though, and I was like, wait, is anybody looking at me? Like, because that was really unlike me. But that's how the rest of my trip was. It was very lighthearted. It was wonderful. By the time I got to stop and see another friend on my way down, which was wonderful, he and his wife, and, broke it up into like an 8-hour and then a 5-hour chunk. And once I got down there, it just hit me that he's lonely, he's bored. He was doing some stuff for a while, but he couldn't really do it because it was hurting his back, and his VA disability has deemed him unemployable. So he's just having a hard time with doing nothing, And so I'm talking to him about volunteering, this, that, and the other, and he's got some other things that are present on his mind. And I say, you know what, we're just going to use this time to hang out. Like, I'm not your counselor.
Yeah,
I just want to be your friend.
Let's see what comes about it.
Let's just hang out, and whatever we talk about, we talk about. And I think that it was beneficial to both of us. I thought I was going down there just for him, but it turns out that trip did me a lot of good too. Well, we got to go see a skate park that he helped design.
That's cool.
Got to skate it for a little bit. That was pretty nice. Got to go to his local skate shop and meet the guys there that he knows. Local brewery, of course, he knew them. So I'm going and I'm realizing that George, he's lonely, but he's surrounded by people that love him. Like everybody he introduced me to was just enamored by him.
I think though, for certain people, whether it could be many things, depression, other things, that they don't see that. I think it takes either them to remove themselves from those people for a long period of time, kind of like running away, but not really. You run away from seeing those people, and then eventually you come back to them, and they, man, where you been? Oh, we've missed you. And you truly see that, oh, I thought I was alone, and no one really cared for me, but all these people do. I think sometimes it takes people one of those kind of runaway moments before they realize that there are more people in their corner than they even can begin to realize. Yeah.
I know people have told me that before when I've been in, I don't know, some sort of a way, where I wasn't seeing clearly. And it's weird how you don't let yourself hear it. It's like you block it, like you put up a wall, or like you put earmuffs on or something. Like you just don't hear it. It doesn't compute. You're just like, you can't believe that anybody would say anything decent about you. So it's got to be bullshit. Like you're just trying to appease me or whatever. And that's not it. Like I saw it firsthand down there. We weren't planning on meeting anybody anywhere, but everywhere we went, there were people there that he's like, oh, you got to meet these people. And they're like, oh, hey man, what's up? And they come over and, whatever. And it just made me realize how many people love the guy. And I don't think he's seeing the forest through the trees right now,
I think everybody experiences that. No matter who you are, you feel at times that no one's really in your corner. And it takes those moments of when you disappear for a bit and people are like, hey, how you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah. It's, I hope that getting in his face, and I just mean being there personally, sparked something. I hope it, triggers something that is thought-provoking for him, that allows him to see the green grass that's right under his feet, But anyway, so during the last couple of weeks, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I was also fortunate enough to have my first DMT journey.
Oh.
Yeah. That's right. It wasn't the most intense. I think it was a little less than what I should have had. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it with people that had done it before. So I think they were being cautious, And so anyway, you take these 3 big drags off of it, and then you just sort of like, you have no choice but to lay down. Like you just like, it's euphoric. It's the most euphoric feeling I've ever felt in my life. And so, anyway, me and whoever else was in there, I go to lay back, and it just feels like I just get sucked out of my own head. Just like, just like somebody turned the water on the other way. Okay. And I just got poured up. And, during this time, after I arrive, I feel I'm more like a spectator at this point. I'm like looking over a situation instead of looking at it. Mm-hmm. Right. And what I'm looking at is a gentleman, looks like a male in appearance, and is built like a Tim Burton movie character. So like long, slender,
Really, yeah.
but like big, like bulbous joints and like the long head. I couldn't make out who it was. It was a very very muted image when it came to the face. But what he was operating, like with almost like a pull, like on like The Price is Right.
Yeah.
He's operating this thing, and it's like a what do you call it? It's like a pinwheel of geometric shapes,
Okay.
but like it's going through a funnel, right? Like
So, like
pouring into a funnel.
It's just going endless.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like like the
There's actual apps that do that.
no, I know, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm trying to think of the name. Fractals.
Kaleidoscope, almost kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Kinda-
it was like a kaleidoscope almost of but in like this very like water flowy kind of way.
Mhm.
And there was so much more that happened and I can't recall all of it. But it was the weirdest thing to view this. It was like I was watching myself watch something.
Mhm.
And I don't know what any of it meant. I don't know anything. And I know that I didn't go as far as I could have with a little bit more of the material. But for what it was worth, it was like the first time I've ever felt like I was able to just let go up to a point where I felt like I was suffocating. Yeah, it was crazy. So I would go and I would be like this, like I'm watching this fractal type of movie in front of me, and I can't really hear a whole lot. It's just sort of like loud, like white noise. But I would it was almost like I was falling into a warm, like a hot tub or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And you don't realize that if you put your face under the water, you're not going to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
So it was that point of not being able to breathe that I would pop back to, and I would like open my eyes and everything was just sort of normal. But if I closed my eyes and laid back down, I would go right back to that place until I hit that sort of drowning point. So it freaks me out because it literally feels like you can't breathe. So I immediately, well, not immediately, but then within the next day or two, I started researching it, and they say that a lot of people feel that suffocation type of thing, which is that moment of letting go, and they can't let go. They keep trying to hang on because it feels like you're dying.
So like you're trying to
feels like death.
You're trying to let go parts of the parts that need to go, kind of thing, like the poisons or the
I don't know,
evil, so to speak, if to give it a simpler term.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is that you control, or whatever it is that you're trying to hang on to. And I was pretty surprised by that because I really felt like I'd gotten to a point where, I mean, I'm okay with death.
Mm-hmm.
I not like I want to go die, but I'm sort of looking forward to what's next. Like I don't want to get rid of this good car to buy another car.
Yeah.
So to speak, but I'm not opposed to figuring out what's next. I think when that moment comes, given a moment of thought, I think it will be one of of happiness.
I talked about this the other day with some people of like, you get into, I guess it wasn't a religious debate, but like, where do you want to go? Do most people think, I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. You're going back to religious style of things. And I kind of said, I was brought up that way. And I kind of said, like, I don't feel that that's what happens. Kind of with all the Buddhist, Taoist things that I read and a lot of that, and the Eastern culture. I kind of personally believe that we're all part of this universe. You and I, every single human, every living creature, even the rock, everything that has a particle to it, which is everything.
Yeah.
Even the things that we don't see in the air right now. Everything is a part of the universe. You are a part of it, and I am right now. You and I are human forms right now. At some point when the human form ends, we will come back as another form of energy. What will that be? Could we come back as a rock? Maybe.
Right.
Kind of not so much more in the sense of like, a rebirth, you're coming back as another life form. I think that when life ends, it's a perpetual part of the continual energy of life. Your energy just ceases to exist in that form, and you go to the next. Almost kind of like in what was it? Thor Dark World. I think the second one. His mother gets killed, and then when she falls off the edge, she just looks like fairy dust going. I believe it's kind of like that. You don't see it, and as crazy as it sounds, but we become another part and order of the world and of the universe, and you're another form of energy. Now, I also play, though, what you did when you were in this living form will have a big determining effect of, are you going to be good energy, or will you become a part of the bad? Because there is always, again, that yin and the yang, the good and the bad. So I kind of think, as you're letting go of that death, like you're accepting, it's like, and like a lot of the Stoics say too, that you should be understanding and accept death, that it could come knocking. It's not to be on the negative side, but it gives life and what we're doing now a lot more exclusivity and makes it a lot more precious when you know that we're blessed every time we wake up.
Yeah, if you put it into the most simple terms, we're very lucky to be human.
Yes.
Like the human experience is, you can't deny that it's a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're literally smelling a flower, or you're kissing that spot underneath the ear on your significant other one.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're doing, it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. And there are so many bad things that weave themselves in there. But wouldn't you take all the bad just to have, some of that good too?
Yeah.
You have to remember that.
I think that's what life is. And then, excuse me, you go back to the biblical Adam and Eve, you got the yin and the yang that right now is like Lao Tzu and Taoism kind of believes that, and I guess a simple way would put it, let's go with ice ages. They quote unquote occur every maybe 10,000 years, they believe. So we've had one, well, another one will come. Life is like that. Like like how Taoists believe is that at one point the world was in great harmony. Everything knew its balance. That, and they believe too, they were kind of more of not killing animals, doing, so you could say they were more of the vegan style, but everything knew its purpose. If we took this animal's life, your purpose was to fuel us. You gave your life for us, and it's not going unnoticed.
Yeah.
A lot of Native American things, and certain hunters will do that too.
Sure.
That at some point the universe and the world will snap, and it will go back to harmony.
Yeah.
But not before extreme chaos and disorder. Kind of like an ice age. If an ice age comes, that's major chaos and disorder. Temps drop, ice just starts to creep all over the world.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. That's what they kind of believe, that at some point we'll go back to this way.
Yeah.
So we can attribute to Adam and Eve. When Eve took the apple, then, man's now sin. Evil is created, from the devil taking the form of the serpent and all this. I think that's kind of another way of looking at the world. If, you want to look outside religion, is that at some point it will go back to just here.
Yeah.
Everything will find a balance. Everything does. Mother Nature does. Great forest fires that happened over the past year, Mother Nature's reclaimed it. It will come back.
Yeah.
Asteroid hit Earth how many millions of years ago? It will come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Until it can't anymore, right?
Yeah. And at some point when going back to the energy, those particles run out, which that kind of goes against what they believe, but, saying it's never ending. You just become another part of it and you absorb another part, and it's ongoing. And the same thing of the universe. Right. It's always existed. There was no bang. There was no this. It just started as one.
Right.
And then the one grew to two, and they just kept multiplying. And, we have enough energy, and nope, now there's a planet. Now there's kind of going from a thing. So weird ways of thinking of it, but going back to, your experience, I think it's in those moments of, as we heal, you learn to let go of those things in your past, maybe a bad experience, something that you could have caused, or something that happened. Like, I replayed the stupid little accident that happened. Like, man, if I didn't leave at this time, if I would have left just a hair here, no. We can
Yeah.
play what if all day long. It happened.
Yeah.
Everything is fine.
Yep.
They were not injured, which is good. I hope no one else was in the process of wherever they were going. I was completely fine. I went about my day.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still living. Everybody's okay.
You know, but it's still, and it's, you know, it's been a week plus later, and it's just like, and I just like, it's over with.
Yeah.
Put it out.
Yeah.
Next step is getting everything situated, get the truck back, and then I'll go on my day, and I'll think, you remember when that was stupid?
Yeah, dude.
Like, just those little things and those moments of life where, you know, it's just, it's hard not to dwell on things that have happened to us. That's the human mind. That's what the mind pulls from.
Yeah. I think that, like, when I kept feeling that feeling of suffocating, I think what it was that moment of total relaxation. And I think that I just don't let myself relax enough to the point where I was ready for what was next.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm like chomping at the bit. Now I'm like, okay, I want a round 2 now. I want to do this again.
Yeah.
So that's definitely on my agenda for the near future.
And that took me time with meditation and like doing Wim's breathing, like to sit here and do 30 to 40, like that hard, like no pausing. And then you're going to hold, and then like your body goes in convulsions because it wants to fight to breathe, but your mind is going, stop.
Yeah.
Be fine.
Yeah.
And that goes into his cold training. Or when I do other meditations, is like, I've gotten to the point I'm so relaxed, closing my eyes. And like I've talked about with you before, I kind of think as humans, we have 2 eyelids. You'll close it. I see the lights. I can look around, and then I can close again in that literal sense, kind of.
Sure.
And I see nothing but darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if the eyes roll. I have no idea. I don't know any
Yeah.
of this, but I feel like humans have 2 eyelids. Like you close, and it's like pure darkness appears if you can focus it to that point. But I'll meditate, and I usually lay with my hands, or in the traditional sense seated, or sometimes just like sprawled out. And seated I can maintain because I'm trying to maintain the proper posture, good alignment to keep the flow.
Right.
When I lay down, I get so relaxed that I'll like, I will feel like my body has just been like the floor is removed, and I am just endlessly falling.
Yep.
And when I'm completely relaxed, I just feel like I'm falling and floating.
Yeah.
And then like I see all the time when I get in real good deep meditation is like if you were to look above me from like a satellite view, is almost like if I'm like in just this giant pool of water, and it's like crystal clear blue, like, you know, the most perfect of like ocean water you can imagine, but there's no land in sight, and I am just floating, which I know that would never happen because I don't float.
Right.
But I am just floating because I'm so relaxed. And I almost feel like if I had like a window open, I think like if I was here, I would move over to here.
Yeah.
And there's things back in like some of the stuff I'm reading with Alan Watts and these guys from old Eastern times that like Buddha is depicted as seated, and there's some without legs, and one was so dedicated to learn from one of the masters, he cut his arm off, and they're like, but his arm didn't leave him. It just stayed there. She presented it, and he's like, oh, and it just went like that. The human body, no different than like craziness of, I think Nate talked about, of people who can control their minds so well, like, you know, yogis, as they say, can sit on a block of ice, and they can sit and get so heated that there's steam literally coming off the ice as they sit there, and it just melts right under them.
Yeah.
That it's just such to be in tune with yourself is so hard nowadays. And I think that's another thing with the Taoist belief is we all were at one point this way. And I think this is what Wim's trying to teach is we were all at one point so level, so in tune with ourselves and nature that we knew something's not right. You knew something wasn't right within you because you were so in tuned.
Right.
You knew something wasn't right with your fellow man or woman or your animal because you were so connected. There are so many distractions in this day, so many signals interfering the natural wave that you have no idea what's going on. So for you to focus and realize that, you know, what's going on even just with you, that we can't, because, you know, I can think of it from previous job, put the phone away. God, if I go back to it, there's probably going to be like, 50 texts, how many emails, how many messages, I want to do this, this is this. You get so worked up over what? A device? And when you can pull yourself away and just be like, there's one.
Yeah.
But you got to pull yourself away from all those things to be able to get to that harmonized homeostasis state of true relaxation, which, and a lot of things I read, if you can get to that, you have achieved, quote unquote, your enlightenment.
Yeah.
Not the enlightenment.
Right. Right.
Because each individual is, in a sense, your enlightenment will be very different than mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we are each a journey.
Yes.
We're each a trip, and nobody, not even the people we love the most, can tell us how that trip should be.
No,
nobody. Every decision that we make is ours, and it shouldn't be anybody else's. And I think that when we live our life making decisions based on what other people think we should be doing or meeting their expectations or not, that's when we get thin.
Yeah.
That's when you get very, very thin. We get weak. We get frail. We become fragile, and that's when psychosis sets in, or that's when depression sets in. That's when, when you realize, you look back and you realize, oh my God, this way I feel, I've been making myself feel this way. My own doing. I've been putting my own foot in my own mouth or whatever. You can't live your life in a fashion that is anything but the way that you feel like you should be living it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you can't go get a crappy job when you're 15 or 16 years old. That's not what I'm saying. I mean that when it's time to be able to make your own decisions and, make your own way, do it your way. Not the way you saw somebody on Instagram do it.
Yeah.
Or the way, saw some movie star do it. No, do it your way. And when you have a genuine idea, write it down. You don't want to forget it. That's yours.
Go back to it.
That's your intellectual property.
Writers, they say, keep notepads under their pillow or near their bedside and just go.
How many times have you how many times you've been out with somebody and they're sitting there just going on and on about some idea they had, something they wanted to do, some invention, I don't know any of them that ever did any of them.
Yeah.
So why not? I mean, really, genuinely, why not? I know there had to have been many people that were in a far better situation to start up a small company than I did when I did. I wasn't prepared at all. So if I could do it, I mean, damn near anybody can.
I think some are prepared, but I think most aren't. I think that's part of the trial and learning process of doing what you do.
I didn't mean that as in like go start a company. I just meant do something that you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to paint a picture, paint a picture. If you think people like it and you want to throw it out there and be vulnerable and see what happens, throw it out there.
Don't follow the herd.
No, man, you can't. You have to make yourself vulnerable. Sorry. You have to open your wound up and allow people to see what it is that you've created that came out of you. And, I think that those of us that create and try to sell what we create sometimes forget that we've had hundreds or maybe thousands or tens of thousands of people that have had your product or used it or hung it on the wall or whatever, and they love it. You have a bad day and you think, oh, woe is me, nobody loves me. You forget about all that other shit.
You forget about the hard work that's been done to get to the point to where you're at.
Yeah, and that hard work is going to cause you to want to lay down.
Yeah.
One day. And maybe you don't do anything that day, but you just lay down. Well, yeah, you've been working really hard. It's okay to take a day off.
There's something big that I think we talked about this a little bit when we had Jordan and stuff like that, is so many people get hung up on trying to do these crazy things and like, I gotta do this every day, I gotta do this every day, I gotta do this every day. Not that the human body or the mind is not capable of doing extreme things, but the physical beatdown that it does to the system, more so than just physical, like all your hormones, your adrenal, the circadian rhythm to the body, all this type of stuff that a lot of people want to try and do these days is like, and they're told like, again, do this, do that, do that. You got to go, oh, you can't do that. You're weak if you take a moment to rest. Yeah, right. Even the professional athletes take. So UFC fights just happened this weekend. All those that fought, whether who won, those who retained titles, won titles, lost their title, or whomever fought, they're not today going to practice.
Right. Yeah.
One, they got to medically wait for so long, but they might do some light stuff. But I guarantee you none of them the next day were, let's go and spar 100%, because they can't. Their career will end.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, I think you guys need to understand too, is like, it's great to do physical feats and mental challenges, but you got one body in a sense.
Yeah.
Depending, we don't know what really happens. Is what I just talked about. That could be it's a theory. I can't prove it.
Yeah. Well, that's
like you
silly.
There's cool things that people can do, and they do them for good reasons, I get, but like there's just certain things, like think within the realm of using your brain. What is this going to bring me more than harm? And I've seen a lot of people do some of this stuff, and it's just like, yeah, you stupid. Like guys I used to train with, like, oh man, we're gonna spar every day, and they'd stick around, and because we had 24 access to the gym, and they'd spar, and then what happened? Oh well, at work this happened. No, you didn't. You fools were sparring. You probably broke your hand punching because you decided you wanted just wraps and not glove. Yeah, dumb things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we can't be superhuman. There are some people out there who are, that are above and beyond many of us, who can do feats of
Sure.
crazy mental and physical. But
I just wish I didn't have to hear another person ever use the word grind
or hustle.
or hustle. Like, okay, if you're gonna use those words, could you please also, try to weave in some words like break, maybe time off, maybe family time. You know what I mean? Like how many people do you hear every day, whether it's Gary Vee or any of those guys, just screaming about the grind? You got to hustle. You got to work hard. But if you work too many consecutive days, for too many consecutive weeks, for too many consecutive months, there's going to be a moment where you fucking fall on your face.
Well, not like you, but someone I know, not going to mention their name. They are a very popular person, very well known. That's the way they went.
Yeah.
And it took them down big time.
Sure.
Hard reset to life. Still is a incredibly hard worker, very dedicated. We'll give him that. But, others can see it. And sadly, that sometimes we don't, that like,
yeah,
it'll eat you. I know plenty of people,
Yeah. Well, at some point you're going to look back, and it's that whole thing we were talking about where, were you doing all of this for you? Or were you doing all of this to make other people like you?
Or prove a point.
Yeah, like when is it good enough? When are you going to be okay to step aside and just let shit sort of happen the way that you made them happen?
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of the driver's seat for a while. Let somebody else take over. And therein lies the root of most of those problems, and it's control.
It's ego.
It's a hard time letting go of control, because that ego hasn't been taking care of you. It's been shielding you,
mm-hmm.
right? Like I've made amends with my ego, because it took very good care of me for a long time.
Yeah.
It protected me. It did what it was supposed to do. But much like these other people need to do, I was able to say, it's my turn now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to live ego first. I'm going to live compassion first, and then we'll see what happens. I don't have an alternate plan, and it doesn't sound like any of these other people have alternate plans either, because it's just 100 miles an hour, go, go, go all the time, do what I'm doing if you want to be like me.
A perfect comparison is that even a race car that goes hundreds and hundreds of miles an hour cannot do that all day. So Baja, any of these 24-hour races.
Yeah, Dakar, all that stuff.
None of these cars can do that. They have to stop. They have to get new tires. They have to be refueled, cleaned.
Cool down.
There's no difference as a human being that you cannot run like that for days and days and days on end. Yes, we could run a lot longer in the car. We won't travel the distance, but
yeah,
your body will not go for those lengths.
No, and
you're too. Physically, you might break down. You might have a strong mentally, but when they both go,
yeah,
then it's hard to come back from.
Yeah,
it's a long journey of
it's
trying to mentally and physically rebuild the body and the mind to get back on a team that it can function on that normalcy, whatever that is.
It's taken me almost 3 years, because I fucking fell down hard, and I still have, I'm still nowhere close to being how I was before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was so results driven before that I never stopped along the way to look at the process, to, you know, enjoy the process. Instead, I was always looking for the next accomplishment after the next accomplishment, and you don't even stop to sit and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I always told myself, well, man, after this event or after this launch or this whatever, I just want to sit down with the people that were here and just enjoy a beverage and talk some shit and not have to work. But it never happened because I was always busy hopping right back into the next thing.
Yeah. And it's contagious to do so.
It's intoxicating.
There's so many things proven of people taking vacations, taking those breaks. Like, there wouldn't be all this statistical proven data out there for mental health and physical health if it wasn't true.
Yeah,
you know?
for real. Yeah, it's real, man. It's real.
Yeah, it is. It's big time.
It's really real.
Give yourselves a mental break and a physical break from time to time. You don't got to go 100 miles an hour every day.
Yeah, you don't have to do DMT either. That was my choice as an adult, as a grown-ass man. You know, I want to say this here and now that is not something that I use as a Band-Aid for anything. I use it as exploratory surgery for my mind. You know, I want to see what else I can unearth. You know, I've already done it with meditation and I'll continue to do so. But anyway, I just want to let y'all know that, and I'm going to do it again.
Good disclaimer.
Yeah, totally. Should have had that at the bottom, you know, fine print. But anyway, man. So yeah, the drive down to Florida and the drive back, I should say the drive to Atlanta and then Florida and then reverse, because I stopped in Atlanta. But I have never in all my life driven, a 12, 13-hour drive like that was so uneventful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was because I was so relaxed.
That's good.
So calm. I was, from that week prior being just so like sort of mind blowing. Dude, I never had nobody on my ass. I was never on anybody's ass. There was no real traffic to speak of, no real accidents, no real bad weather, just nothing, just an easy drive. And I think it was that whole mindset going into it was just like, I'm going somewhere to help someone. Very relaxed. I'm not stressed out about anything. And I think I was rewarded with, the kind of trip that I needed.
Yeah.
Came
at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool to do it in an old, 2003 car. Like that's the first trip also that I've ever taken as an adult in like a used car that wasn't like proven to me or wasn't like under warranty or like, and so like that to me was very vulnerable. That was like, well, I think it's good. Like it's never given me any problems, but yeah. So anyway, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Got back here and I was like, man, what? I'm not sure what just happened, but I think I drove all the way down to Florida and back within a span of like 6 days. And I lived to tell about it. Like, I think that just happened.
It just like morphed into one moment.
It did.
Kind of like we talked about before, like you leave and all of a sudden you're at work. Like, where did it go?
Yes.
Kind of got lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I remember the driving, but the whole thing just sort of became one event and it was beautiful. It was really, really cool. It was nice. I've seen him in the past since we got out of the service.
Yeah.
But it was, it was always like, well, hey, I'm going to be in town for work anyway. It'd be good to catch up. Never like I'm intentionally setting out to go be with you.
Making that time.
Yeah. I mean, we hold space for people in our hearts, and whether you realize that or not. There's some people that they could do anything and you'd be right there in a minute. Mm-hmm. And there's other people you'd be like, you got somebody you can call, I'm sort of busy. He's one of those people that, I hold space for in my heart. So hopefully it was as good for him as it was for me.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think I used to hear that back in the 80s. It was a big saying. But anyway, I think that's about all I got today, man. How about you?
Same.
Same. Right on, man. Well, it's good to be back in the saddle.
Absolutely. It was good.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I guess we'll do this again next time.
Sounds good.
Still on for it, right?
I'm always.
Cool. All right. Just want to make sure. Cool. All right, people. Thank you for joining us and listening to our banter today. We love y'all, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Peace. See you.
Not to lose, not to lose.